So then we're going to go to public meeting we have scheduled for this evening. It's with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 986 Ridge Road North. This is a meeting of the Planning Act, and council will first hear from the member of staff providing us with some background relative to the application. Those council can ask the staff member questions regarding that information. Following Ms. Shigan's presentation, we will then go to the proponent or the proponent's agent for any further information. And Councillor will be given an opportunity to ask questions. Then I will ask if there's anyone in the crowd other than the proponent who's agent who wishes to speak in favor of the application. And then finally, I will ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in opposition or ask questions relative to the application. I'll check with the clerk to make sure that if there have been any late email messages or correspondence provided to us relative to the matter she advises us, and then I'll go to Mr. Patton and see if there's anybody in the digital way just to address this. I'll do that throughout the proceeding. Once we're finished with the public meeting, then we'll move to consider report PDPS 08/2025. So I'll start with the machine. Good evening.
Thank you, Redekop. Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Robert Chugan. I'm the Intermediate Development Planner for the Town of Erie. The purpose of this presentation and public meeting is to provide information for recommendation to Council for a proposed zoning bylaw amendment application for the subject lands municipally known as 986 Ridge Road North. The application was submitted by GD Valley Elvin Darvinson on behalf of George and Carol Parazader. These subject lands are proposed to be rezoned from the site-specific rural residential 651 zone to a new site-specific rural residential zone to reduce the lot frontage requirements. The applicant is also requesting to remove a portion of the environmental conservation overlay and will be subject to a future consent application through the Committee of Adjustment to facilitate the construction of a single detached dwelling. Notice of today's public meeting was provided in accordance by the Planning Act by placing a sign on the subject lands and circulating the notice of public meeting by regular mail on January 7th, 2025. All registered property owners within a 120-meter radius would have been notified. So here we have a slide of the development application timeline. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is subject to a 90-day processing and review timeline that begins the day that the application is deemed complete and will end the day that council makes a decision on the application. Right now, we are at the public meeting recommendation report, which is day 70 of the 90-day timeline. Here we have a location map of the subject lands. As you can see, the subject lands are located outside of the urban boundary. These subject lands are located on the east side of Ridge Road North with a 30.45 meter frontage and an approximate lot area of 5.6 hectares. The nearest public open space is Shag Park Nature Area, located approximately 550 meters south of the subject lands. The neighborhood is predominantly single detached dwellings and comprised of irregularly shaped lots along Ridge Road North with a variety of lot frontages and lot areas. So this is a view looking east of the subject lands. A view south of the subject lands. And a view west of the subject lands. The subject lands are designated rural residential under the town's official plan. A single detached dwelling units are permitted uses within that designation, and no amendments to the official plan are proposed. The subject lands are currently zoned rural residential 651 zone with an environmental conservation overlay in the town zoning bylaw. The applicant seeks to rezone the subject lands to a new site-specific rural residential zone and to remove a portion of the EC overlay of the subject lands to construct a single detached dwelling. Okay, here we have an illustration of the proposed site plan. The site plan indicates the approximate location of the single detached dwelling and private services. The retained land will remain the existing single detached dwelling and the detached accessory building. This is an illustration of the proposed severed and retained lots. As you can see, the area hatched in red is the severed lands with the proposed 6-meter lot frontage, and the remainder of the lands is the retained lot with the proposed 24-meter lot frontage. As mentioned, the retained lands have an existing single detached dwelling and detached accessory building that will comply to the town zoning bylaw provisions of the rural residential zone should the future consent application be granted. As part of the zoning bylaw amendment application, the applicant is also seeking to remove a portion of the EC overlay zone. An environmental impact study that was submitted with the application supports the partial removal of the EC overlay within the developable area. The area hatched in green will continue to be rezoned as EC overlay and will include a 5-meter wood lot drip line to mitigate any further negative impacts to the wood lot. The area remains EC overlay. The area that remains EC overlay will be redesignated environmental protection through the town's official plan review. A public open house was held December 11th, 2024, and notice of open house was posted on the town's website and a sign was posted on the subject lands. Town planning staff, the applicant, and owner were in attendance. No members of the public attended the meeting and no written comments were received. This concludes the public meeting presentation for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much, again. Members of the council have questions. Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your presentation. It's noted that there were no members of the public and that a postal strike might have affected this. Can you tell me if we're still within our parameters with the postal strike and whether there was any issues that way?
Through you, Mayor Redekop, to with Councillor Flagg, we were within our regulation to post on the town's website, and that was direction given by the clerks.
Thank you for your answer.
Any other questions? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you for your presentation. Can you bring the map or the picture up that shows the personal property and the one piece of land that's on the back? I just have one question on that. Yeah, that one will work. Parcel number 1 that has the property or the existing home or dwelling. Can parcel part 1 that's being retained later be cut into a separate lot, or would it have to stay joined with the property with the dwelling?
Through you, Mayor Redekop, to Councillor Lewis, the proposal is to reduce the retained to 24-meter frontage. So at this time, with the proposal, no, would not be, because it would not be the zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you. And then one further question. I know there was a number of concerns from EAC with respect to the buffer and a few other comments. And I understand that keeping the EC overlay will preserve the natural heritage, but how have all of the concerns from EAC been addressed?
I have spoken to our senior environmental planner. She was, Jessica was given the EAC comment or provided the EAC comments, and I believe it was going to go back to the next scheduled meeting.
Okay. So EAC would be looking at this in the future, but a decision is being asked for us right now. So is that something we should be mindful of right now, that we're still waiting for their comments from EAC, or that's my only concern? If EAC is still expecting a comment on it and we're looking to get approval, then how does that work?
Through you, Mayor Redekop, to Councillor Lewis. So with EAC, it's I might have to look towards the director for it's a new committee for me. So
I don't know. I appreciate that completely. I don't know.
Mr. Ward.
Mayor Redekop, through you to the councillor. So this application was circulated to EAC and EAC came back. They wanted a new environmental impact study. They had requested that the woodlot which is there should be in town's ownership. And they had one more concern about the restoration plan. So as far as the restoration plan is concerned, that would be a condition of the future severance application. We would be maintaining that EC overlay on the remaining portion of the property. The environmental impact study was accepted by the region and town's environmental staff. Both are the commenting agencies on that. And the last concern that EAC had was about whether that woodlot should be in public ownership or town's ownership. At this time, staff is not supportive of that recommendation because it does not have full access to that woodlot. And it would be in future, if there is an opportunity, we can definitely explore that. But as of now, it would remain in private ownership.
Yeah, I may continue. Thank you for that answer, both of you. But I just want to make sure we're not still waiting on additional comments from EAC. We may not have addressed all of them to their satisfaction, but we're not waiting on you.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other members of the council? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So that takes us to the applicant or the applicant's agent. Now, would like to comment or to noticing. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me. Members of the council. My name is Alden Darvis. I represent G. Douglas Valley Limited, and here on behalf of our client, George and Carl Perzader. We've read the staff report, and we don't have any concerns on this one time. Looking forward to council decision. Really favorable, and yes, we do have to make an application for severance in the future. If I may, Mr. Perzader would like to address council.
Sure.
Here, councillors, staff, good evening. Wayne. I'd like to know both understand the very well. You probably know. Anyway, I wrote this out. Didn't get the report until Friday. Just a few points. And I did a discussion with Robin this afternoon, and we clarified some of it. So initially I thought about the overlay, the tree drip line, and it's a little awkward to set a drip line for a property or a line in Glen with trees that grow and move and so forth. But I think we can resolve it with the setback line to keep the development away from the trees, the woodlot. So as far as I'm concerned, okay on that one there. And most of the questions. And another issue is the reference plan. It was referred to so many times. I thought possibly initially, I thought possibly we're going to discuss that tonight, but we clarified that too, that it's going to be for the committee of adjustment. So we'll go along with that. So otherwise, I'm here to answer any questions. If there are any.
Okay, any members of council have any questions? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just one quick question for you, Mr. Perzader. I know you've been back and forth on this property for a number of years. So
10 years.
hopefully we're getting somewhere. I just had one concern or question that was brought up by one of the neighbors, and that was if you had any plans of in the future separating that part one lot that's being held back for a future bill. And I didn't know the answer, and I just thought I'd ask while you or your team were here today.
You're talking about that area behind my house?
Correct. Yeah, that part that's being held back. And the question from the neighbor ish, they weren't really a neighbor,
Yeah.
was, is there any future, plans for development with that, given the driveway being made much, more narrow than what would be required for two?
Well, I'm allowed 200 a region for, plan. Me personally, no, but, my family, my children and, grandchildren. I've been talking, they're the they're the ones that want to build there. Plus I have, Noyes niece, whose husband wants to too, but anyway, this has to be determined. On that plan, me personally, no, but it could be, there's no, environmental aspect. It, I know when we talked about property to the public and that, if it was more suitable, I can't see it being too far away. It's, if you bought everything in between, then we work with, we've been there for 40 years, 35, on that back property, and we maintained it, enjoyed it, and want to continue. Especially my grandchildren, and now my great grandfather is involved in it. So I'll be leaving everything to them, and what they want to do with it, that's up to them. And that's about it. It's not out of the possibility that it's that would be honest with it. But I don't want to. I've been through a lot of this stuff, and the original plan I thought was the best, but didn't work. Okay.
Councillor Lewis?
Nothing further, and just remember, if the grandchildren are moving closer, you'll probably be babysitting one, so. I just said, if the grandchildren are moving closer, you'll be babysitting more, so thank you for answering.
Yeah, that's my wife's job.
Councillor Joan?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and through you, Mr. Presider, thank you for coming back tonight. I know I was here before with some of the other plans, so I'm glad we're trying to get this moving forward. You just touched on something, and I was just wondering, is the intent for this severance in the bill for a member of your family to have the house?
It was not my direct number, it's niece.
That was my only question. Thank you, Your Worship.
Yeah, definitely. Let's say, the property was, probably know, mandated right from the start, from the previous owner, when he did it, and I couldn't build a house for 25 years on it. So, you know, I had to do something. I don't know.
Mr. Perry, it looks like things are in your favor. That's when you don't talk. It's an old lawyer's. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there anyone who wishes to speak in support of the application other than obviously the applicant and his agent? Mr. Regal, please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. My Regal 780 Bridge Road, Noyes. This is out about a few hundred feet from where George is. I would just like to tell the council that we're getting to the point now where there's becoming a little more understanding of what it means to have acreage in along the lines of 4 to 8 acres. Where with some simple modifications and changes by you good folks, that we can come along and put in an additional home, our property, in my case, my family has owned it since 1930. The land that my house is on used to be strawberries and raspberries for growing. But it's got to the point now at my age of 84 soon that I, like a lot of people, would like to have a smaller home, nicely run, all the services, all the approvals, hopefully not an inordinate one through this. and that we can proceed with having this house, because it's going to create some extra tax for the town, because we basically have to pay all expenses when the road in. Now, I have, back to the building, I currently have water, I have gas, I have electrical, what's left of it. And, so everything is pretty legit, it's converting some of that back to the corner. But of course, it's been part of the process, but I'm just here to say that, George has had a lot of, challenges in the last few years to get this as far as what it has been. And I applaud the fact that this council has agreed in what we want.
We haven't quite agreed yet.
Right?
We haven't quite agreed yet.
Well,
Like, I'm told.
And so I'm hopeful that I can reach there in the next 6 months or so with a similar presentation. And answer some questions to this purpose.
Thank you. Before you go, any members of council have any questions of Mr. Reed? Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in support of the application?
Are you?
You're free to go. I'm just asking if there's anyone else here who wishes to speak in support. Okay. Mr. Patton, can you check the digital waiting room and see if there's anyone who wishes to speak in support of the application by the representatives? Do not there. Here, there's still people in the digital waiting room.
Mr. Mayor, there's one individual, it's the iPhone individual that.
Right. So if the iPhone individual puts his hand up, then we'll know he's in support. And can then speak to us. If not, we're going to move on to those who are opposed.
Mayor, motion.
Okay, then I'm gonna, thank you, then I'm gonna ask you if there's anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application or has questions relative to the application. And since there's no one in the room, has that individual with the phone raised its hand to speak in opposition or has questions? Okay. Going to ask the clerk, have we received correspondence relative to this now? Since the report was prepared.
Mayor Redekop, we have received one written comment from Brittany Abraham at 1000 Ridge Road North in opposition. The comment was circulated to council just prior to this meeting.
As part of the.
Correct.
Okay. Do any councillors have any questions with respect to the correspondence that we received today? This. Okay, but if not, I'm going to declare this public meeting closed. And we're going to move to report PBS 08/2025. Councillor Christensen, I understand you have the resolution, put that on the floor.
His worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott. The council approves the amendments to the town zoning bylaw 129-90 as detailed in report PBS 08/2025 for the lands known as 986 Ridge Road North, and further that council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw.
If you have any questions or comments with respect to the report. If not, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the recommendations? Unopposed, that is carried. So that means your application has not been approved. So Mr. Rodriguez, you had yes. Thank you very much. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, so that takes us to the consent agenda, and Councilor McDermott, you have the resolution regarding the consent agenda.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lewis, The council approves the consent agenda as recommended.
Any questions or comments with respect to the reports? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mr. In regards to the charter coordinating committee meeting, they have me listed as an alternate, the alternate,
Okay.
and appointee.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure because I was going to be stepping down the infrastructure for about stepping down.
Right.
They don't on side, thanks.
So Madam Clerk, we'll, that's that. Any other questions or comments? If not, then I'm going to call the question on the consent agenda. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. And then it takes us to, reports. There are none. New business and inquiries. First item relates to the option to expedite development approvals, and Councillor Christensen will be the resolution of that.
Thank you, your worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott. The council receives the memorandum regarding options to expedite development approvals for information.
Questions or comments? Councillor Lewis.
Thank you, your worship, and I appreciate council deferring this to a later date. I do have a number of questions relating to the report, but it is for information purposes, so at this point, I'm just gonna leave those questions for a later date to speak with the director about, and then certainly bring that conversation back if there's anything further from my council, but I appreciate the report.
Right, I think you were waiting this first thing before us.
Correct.
And does this hit what you were seeking, or were there some additional aspects that were addressed?
Part so, and that's why I want to take it offline with the director and give me more information. I appreciate the efforts put into it, and council deferring it until I have some time to look.
Okay, great. So I'm going to call the question on all those in favor of receiving this information. None opposed, that is carried. Councillor Lewis, you have the next resolution, which relates to the procedures delay.
Thank you, your worship. Resolution number 4, notice of resignation, Irene Bradford, the Christensen Business Improvement Area. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Flagg. The council accepts the resignation of Irene Bradford from the Christensen Business Improvement Area Board of Management, and further to council director staff to proceed with the vacancy in accordance with procedural bylaw.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That takes us to Councillor Newman, one with respect to the order.
Yes, your worship, moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Flagg, that council accepts the resignation of Kenneth Bergen from the Erie Public Library Board, and further that council directs staff to proceed with filling the vacancy in accordance with procedural bylaw.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Christensen.
Thank you, your worship. I would just like to say that Mr. Burden has contributed greatly over many years to the governance of the Fort Erie Library. He has been instrumental in ensuring that there's been effective fiscal planning and implementation. He has provided advice during a year of a number of challenges. And I understand that after all those years, he might want a bit of rest, but he's a great loss, and he's a wonderful person.
He certainly provided some wisdom and continuity during appropriate.
Yes.
Thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, I'll call the question. All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. Takes us into Councillor Flagg and the Great Lakes Cities Initiative.
Thank you, your worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott, that in accordance with the requirements of the expense allowance policy by law 114/2024, council authorizes Mayor Wayne Redekop and Councillor Dubanow to attend the Great Lakes St. Lawrence City Initiative Annual Conference, May 14 to 16, 2025 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. And then that takes us to the resolution granting Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Dave, but before I read this, I think I'm supposed to be on there too.
I don't think you have to because you're all in favor of one.
Oh, okay.
But this is because I'm one more than one.
I just wanted to answer to the okay, that's fine. Moving myself and seconded for Councillor Dubanow that in accordance with the requirements of the expense allowance policy bylaw 114-2024, council authorizes Mayor Redekop to attend the Association of Municipalities of Ontario annual conference on August 17th to 20th, 2025 in Ottawa, Ontario.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed, it's carried. I already did the business requirements, Councillor Noyes.
I did want to talk about the windows to the water. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because there was nothing in the budget in regards to this. I just want to make sure it's been on and off for many years. It starts and then it disappears and then there. So, but I was assured that, and I wanted it in writing, I guess, and a timeline that it will be this year that we do the windows to the water. These are the road allowances on Black Creek. And I want some assurance. I was told when I brought it up during budget time that there's enough trees in the tree bank to pay for any bordering to separate the properties. And there's enough money in the bench bank to provide the benches for these areas. So I don't want to find out in 4 months that we can't afford to do it. So if they're, because I understand because of accessibility, it has to be AODA standards, but there has to be a concrete path to the bench. Because it's a particular size that has to be there. I just don't want to find out in 4 months that it can't be done because there's no budget for it. And I also want a timeline because this will be at least the 3rd time we have started this, and then it's crickets the last 2 times. I know that the signs are ready. I don't know if they're in. I know we're doing another survey for the 3rd time. I just want to make sure that this proceeds this year, and I wanted a timeline.
It's a councilman, as you said that 2 times, you want to get that.
Okay.
Ms. Dewar, can you give me information with respect to this? I see that Mr. Jansen's not here this evening, but it necessarily over the CEO.
Yes, Your Worship, I can provide the information. I can assure Councillor Noyes that the project is on time. It would be done this year. I had a meeting with staff this afternoon and it's on time. It would be, I can assure the councillor that it would be completed this year. We have enough money in the tree fund to plant those trees. We are going to be proceeding with memorial bench program to put those benches along those sections of the waterfront. And also the signage, as you have mentioned, has already been done. It would be installed this year. I can give you that assurance.
I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that I understood that there has to be a concrete path. And supposing that was going to cost considerable amount of money. I gave a very one of
Ms. Dewar, you know, but I'm sure that whatever's done will comply with the accessibility legislation.
That's correct, Your Worship.
Thank you.
And how many windows are there in Black Creek? 5?
If I can add to that, we don't necessarily need to do all 5 because one of them is going to be done by the development on the other side of Black Creek Road, because we're going to be using it with storm drain, and in their presentation they're going to develop that. Another one, I think already has an outlet already, and they're thinking about maybe doing something different there. But you know, if we can get 2 or 3 of them done, I think people will be very happy.
Can we be assured that it will be on?
On what?
Will be monitoring this project?
Well, it hasn't worked for the last 15 years, but maybe now it'll be successful. Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Noyes?
Nothing further.
Any other inquiries by other members or, okay. That takes us then to closed session, and Councillor, you have the resolution for us to go into closed session.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lewis. The council goes into closed session at
6:52 P.M. to consider the following. Item 14.1, Museum and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee appointment pursuant to section 239(2) B of the Municipal Act 2001, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. And 14.2, report PPBS 09/2025 33770 Hazel Street, pursuant to section 239(2) E of the Municipal Act 2001, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And item 14.3, interim control bylaw and 4409 Erie Road, pursuant to section 239(2) F of the Municipal Act 2001. Advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? We're on to closed session.
But raises concern with the Museum and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee. It's one of the reasons why they also moved forward to change the terms of reference with regard to the amount of appointed members versus total number, because there have been challenges with quorum in the past. And it's not just quorum, it's also with recommendations that are being brought forward to council as part of the minutes, having that continuity with a member of council present in those meetings when they come forward, it just makes a lot of sense. So whether it's myself, whether it's Councillor Lewis, just to have someone there as a liaison would allow those decisions to be made, kind of better decision making between council and the committee. That just makes sense to me.
I have no problem with an alternate council member, but again, I'm not, personally, I don't have the time or want to send either one of these boards. But I think we need to open it up if there's any other councilors who would be interested in being the alternate. To give them an opportunity. If they don't, then I have no problems with what's here, but I want to make sure that if someone else has an interest, that they express it now and we can consider it.
So three of you already spoken, so we know what their positions are, we know what Councillor Lewis's position is. Different stuff, Councillor McDermott, Christensen. Any concerns? Want to be on one of these committees? I'm good. Okay, so I think that covers the council. All right, so with that, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the resolution? And that is carried. That takes us to notices of motion. Any notices of motion? I want to give notice of motion, return the ball at the regular council meeting on February 24th. The staff be directed to accelerate design and completion of the reconstruction of the Erie/Waverly Beach walkway, targeting September 2024, 25, pretending of the contract for reconstruction. So that will be returnable to February 20. February 24th. Excuse me, if there are no other notices of motion, that takes us to consideration of bylaws. Are there any bylaws that anyone wishes to remove from the package? If not, that's a
Thank you, Richard. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott, that bylaw package containing 2025 to assume the primary services within Plan M65 Beach Walk Subdivision, Mars Homes, Crystal Beach Inc., Dane Gabriel. 2025 to provide interim taxes for the year 2025. 2025 to authorize the mayor or acting mayor and deputy or the treasurer or deputy treasurer of the corporation of the town of Fort Erie to borrow certain sums to meet expenses for the year 2025. Or 2025 to deem part of a certain registered plan of subdivision not to be a registered plan of subdivision 277 and 281 Central Avenue, Castle Norte, Refugee Assistance Program owner. 2025 to assume secondary services within Plan 59M 465 phases 1, 2, and 3, Crystal Ridge Landing Subdivision, 1372-708, Ontario Inc., Vaughan Gibbons. 2025 to appoint Rosanna Ferenczi as deputy clerk. 2025 to authorize the entry into a downtown Stevensville core area improvement plan grant program funding agreement with 1784550 Ontario Inc., Peter Wangler, 2648 Stevensville Road, 8/2025 to stop up, close, convey part of Albany Street Road allowance 2824116 Ontario Inc. Terrence Davids are giving first and second reading.
All those in favor? Opposed, so that is carried. Those bylaws are on the floor for any questions or comments. Councillor Noyes.
Just want to clarify, I'm pretty sure we know the answer. On 18.7, 7-2025, the downtown Sable Curry area. The payout is only, the grant is only going to be issued once the structure is complete.
Ms. Warren.
That's correct, Your Worship. It would be done, we'll have a clause in the agreement that would clearly outline that.
Make sure that it's in the process. Any other questions? Anyone else? Just had a couple of questions and Ms. Warren. The first one has to do with the assumption of primary services at Marshlands. One of the services is site preparation, grading, and granular. What is that we're taking, we're assuming, Mr. Walsh?
My apologies, Mr. Mayor, can you repeat that?
Yeah, of the primary services, we're also assuming site preparation, grading, and granular aid. That have something to do with the driveways or the part of the boulevard.
Sorry.
So, I started out one.
Your Worship, it's my understanding that it would be, once the services are being, or the road is being constructed, it could be just the granular width of that needs to be installed. I'm not really clear on it. I can get that information back to council in an email.
So, that's fair enough. I'm assuming this is. Is there a problem with this not passing this evening?
Mr. Mayor, it's on here because it has met all conditions.
Okay, so, I can't imagine, so what would the site population be that we would?
Yeah, my apologies, I've never seen that term like that.
Neither have I. I'm wondering whether that should even be in the bylaw.
I don't think, if it was struck, I think it's still acceptable.
Yeah, if there's a problem, it needs to be put back in, we can always, that's a bylaw. Councillor Lewis, you're gonna move to remove item 1 in that bylaw.
Correct.
You have a second? Any questions or comments on it? All those in favor? So that's removable. I had one other question, and that had to do with the next bylaw, which is the taxes. And maybe see if we can answer this. This would not preclude this bylaw that deals with income taxes would preclude the town to continue to register properties for tax arrears if necessary. Oh, Mr. Jansen, we know you here. So this wouldn't prevent the town from proceeding with tax registration once.
That's correct.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll go to third and final reading tonight.
Moved by Councillor Selton, seconded by Councillor Dubanow, the bylaws 1-2025 to 8-2025 inclusive are given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and the clerk under the corporate seal.
That would probably be bylaw 1-2025 as amended.
As amended.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That is carried. That takes us to scheduling of meetings. Are there any meetings?
Tomorrow we have the accessibility.
Oh.
Committee for
Confirmatory.
committee room 1.
Wait. We have to do confirmatory bylaw.
Sorry. So we'll just go back and do confirmatory document. Councillor Lewis, you have that.
Thank you, your worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McDermott. That bylaw number 9/2025 confirm the actions of council at its council and committee meeting held on January 13th, 2025. And its council meeting held on January 27th, 2025 is given first and second readers.
All those in favor? That is carried. Councillor McDermott, you have 35 minutes. Thank you, clerk, for.
You're welcome.
Thank you, worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lewis. That bylaw 9/2025 is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? And opposed, that is carried. Now to schedule the meetings. Councillor Noyes, did you say that meeting tomorrow is at?
Thank you.
4 p.m.
Yeah. Any other meetings? Councillor Christensen.
On February 5th at 10 a.m., the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee meets in Committee Room 1. And at 5:30 p.m. on February 5th, the Midway DIA will meet at the Crystal Ridge Library Community Room.
Any other meetings? Okay, then, we have the following resolution. Councillor Dubanow. Surprise.
Surprise, right? Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Flagg, that council adjourns at 7:45 p.m. to reconvene into a regular meeting of council on February 24th, 2025.
All those in favor?
Resolution.
That is unanimous. Thank you.
I'm looking at the weather. I'm not looking forward to it. Well, so much university. Beat the weather.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick around because it's gonna get warm and it's gonna be blizzard conditions.
So I should think.
On the early. Yeah, it's supposed to stop. Snowing.
Oh,
You guys are on track meeting.
we need to do these upgrades like tomorrow, but
Just realized
Tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna go out.
my
Yeah,
outlook
now I.
on my
Can we meet
outlook
somewhere?
on my
Yeah.
iPad.
And I'm assuming it's gonna.
I use Outlook. I
Oh,
use
if you're
Outlook
driving.
for years, so when I,
for your personal.
yeah,
Then I can just.
but I also have
Okay.
Gmail separately.
And if not,
And so, but it got all mushed here, so, but I can't get the town
Okay.
Outlook. So I'll have to talk to.
You'll
It's the first
have
time
to
I
log
looked at it.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to check on it. So much fun.
Motion that got passed. So now it included with the MP of your.
So only when council designates a property,
It goes
they
to
appeal
LT.
to OT and the OT reverses council's decision. And they apply for the refund, like they have to give us their invoice, but how often does that happen? Like a handful of times, yeah.
But if they have requested in their application that money should be given back to, what does quality has to lose on that? They'll say, okay, if the town is paying you back. I don't know. I've never come across this situation there.
I know, and I know Phil says like, it's not a good precedent. So it's not a good precedent.
No.
You causing so much trouble for.
That give the money back to the applicant for OLT.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta
Because
throw
we
a
have-
bone every so often, right?
We have 30
Didn't
applicants.
affect me at all.
Yeah.
It passed actually, didn't it?
Yeah, I was surprised.
So Lewis kid.